Hi, my name is Clay Richardson, Chief Accelerator with Digital FastForward and your Innovation Leadership Coach. Today, what I wanted to talk to you about is innovation productivity. And the reason I wanted to talk to you about this or have a conversation about this is recently, one of the leaders that's going through our Innovation Accelerator coaching program asked me the question, how do you get it all done in terms of being an innovation leader? And specifically, she was asking, how do I make sure I have time to execute on the key items in my innovation playbook, even though I have all these other things going on? Right? And so it really sent me down a path, and I thought it would be good to share this with you. And the question, when she asked it really jumped out at me because I realized I've been getting this question a lot, right, from innovation leaders, because leaders in different companies, regardless of the industry, are finding it harder and harder to make the time to actually drive the innovation activities that are going to get to the outcomes. And a lot of times this is because innovation is looked at as a nice to have. And so when they look at their priorities, it can be filled up with these meetings or these activities that don't necessarily move the needle. And we know to be successful as an innovation leader, you have to make time for creativity. You have to make time to really think and drive big breakthroughs, right? And so these things don't just happen, and they also don't happen by just scheduling regular time or scheduling in between time. You usually have to have big blocks of time to be able to think creatively, to clear your mind or turn off your phone. And so what I want to walk you through is what I shared with this innovation leader in terms of tips and practices for improving your effectiveness and getting to the outcomes you want as an innovation leader. And so the first thing that I shared with this innovation leader was, it's so important to get clear on your mission as an innovation leader. And my encouragement to everyone, to you, is write down, what is your mission as an innovation leader? Right? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? What is it that you're trying to do? Right? What's the impact you want to have? And I found when you're writing, particularly if you're leading innovation, writing it down and making sure that it's focused on the outcomes and the impact you want to have on others, right? When we talk about innovation, innovation is such a people-centered practice. It may not seem like it, right? Because sometimes innovation gets caught up with technology, right? But ultimately, innovation that breaks through is centered on people. And so you as an innovation leader, you have to define, what is that impact that you want to have? What is your mission? And so just to give you an example, another leader that we work with, another innovation leader who runs a nonprofit, for her innovation leadership mission is more focused on how does she impact the lives of the people that she serves in her nonprofit and in the community, right? How does she use innovation to help people think differently about the options that are available to them? And so just writing out that mission is so important, and it should be personal, right? It shouldn't be, hey, I'm in my company, I'm going to get to 100% return on investment for innovation opportunities. Make it personal. That's my challenge to you, is when you write it down, look at it, put the people in it. What does it mean? Even if you start out with, hey, I'm going to get 100% ROI or greater than 100% ROI, it's so important to kind of look at, well, what would that do or mean for the people that you're getting that ROI for? Whether that's, other executives or leaders or your board, or if it's people on the front line, you want to be very clear about what is your mission as an innovation leader or as a leader in your company that's responsible for innovation. The second piece that I gave them, that I shared, was around block time. And this is a really important piece that I learned last year. There's an author, Nir Eyal, who shared this approach with me and some others that were in this program that I went through last year. And what was really cool was just the approach to block time and blocking out big chunks of time on your calendar so you make sure you have time for those things that matter, right? And you make time for the things that may not seem to matter, but still have to get done, right? And so using this technique from Nir, I was able to actually start blocking big chunks of time. Till now, I've really blocked out my entire week, right? I have weeks and months at a time blocked out for whatever I need to get done. And I mean, literally, I have lunch blocked out, have exercise blocked out. And a lot of you may be doing this already, right? This is something, it wasn't new, right? What Nir shared, I was like, well, I've been doing that for, the last 10 years, been trying to block my calendar out. But what I appreciated is his approach is really about how do you develop the mindset for blocking time that helps you minimize distraction, right? That's the key, just blocking time. I know some people out there, and I'm have been just as guilty of that in the past, block time just to keep people off of your calendar, right? You want to block it just so people can see like, hey, look, I got so much going on. But what Nir talks about is really making sure that you're developing the mindset around how you block time and what you're prioritizing, right? And blocking time for everything, even blocking time, again, if you were to look at my calendar, I have things on there like I have time blocked off for when am I putting my daughter to sleep, my 2-year-old, when am I putting her to sleep? And it may seem a little bit anal, but you got to find what works for you. And so taking time to just check this out. Again, Nir Eyal, we'll try to include some links for you for his recommendation and his approach on blocking time. But he wrote, it's interesting, he wrote the book Hooked. That's really all about how do you hook people on social media and apps, like what's the science behind that. But he also wrote a book more recent called Indistractable, which is really about how do you, as an individual, as a leader, make yourself indistractable where you can get so much done in very short periods of time. So I definitely recommend checking out Nir's book, but most important, and his blog post we'll share, but most importantly, blocking time, just setting time aside at the beginning of every week, or even if you want to get really extreme with it, block out the whole month, right? Just block off the time, make sure you have time for those things that are most important. That's critical. And then the other advice that I gave to this innovation leader was around needle moving activities, right? And this is a little tip that I picked up last year, was just separating out needle moving from non-needle moving activities. And the key here is, and it never dawned on me until I got this advice, that I'm lumping all of my tasks into the same bucket, right? And some of you, if you've read, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People or some other getting things done books, you may already know this, but it definitely took me hearing this, separate needle moving from non-needle moving. And what that's caused me to do is now I really have one list that's connected to needle moving things that connect back to my mission, but I also have another list of things that I need to get done that are still important. In some cases, they're urgent, but they may not be 100% or a clear line of sight back to my mission, right? And so the key there is you need to take time to separate out needle moving from non-needle moving. And when I shared this with the innovation leader that I was giving feedback to, I could see the light bulb went off over her head, like, oh, that's really important, right? And it seems obvious to us, but sometimes we just, you get up, you build your task list, and you're just like, I just need to check stuff off. But a lot of times you're checking things off that are on other people's agenda. Doesn't mean it's not important, but when you look back at the end of the year and you say, did I move the needle on my mission, right? That's where you got to be clear about what are those needle moving activities, right? And then this is going to turbocharge. This is really going to turbocharge your effectiveness as an innovation leader. Deep work. This was a superpower I picked up last year. Going through coronavirus, one of the things that I found was just I did not have enough time during the week to really focus and be creative and think outside of the box, right? It was just, hey, I need to get this done. I need to get this done. I'm in this meeting, that meeting, particularly with Zoom. It just was like, I need to be in every meeting, right? And what I got exposed to is this concept around deep work. And I actually picked up the book maybe 2 or 3 years ago from Cal Newport called Deep Work, and I probably made it through 80 pages, right? And was like, this is great stuff, but I still couldn't find the time really to read the whole book and apply it. And last year I came across this online service called Cave Day. And Cave Day is a community that brings creatives, brings innovators together where you're on Zoom, right, with 80, 90 other creatives, innovators, people who are trying to get it done, trying to get needle moving tasks done, and you're all on mute. And for 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours, you're basically just working on one task that's connected to mission or is needle moving and spending that time just on that task, right? And I look at it, initially I looked at it as study hall for adults. If you remember in high school, you had study hall, and I needed study hall, I'll be honest with you. If I didn't have study hall, I probably would not have graduated from high school and probably not have gone to college. But I needed study hall, and I can see now, even as an adult, we need study hall. We need those big blocks of time to get big things done. And deep work is a way to get it done. And so my recommendation, and what I also shared with this innovation leader, was sign up for Cave Day, right? Go to caveday.org, sign up. Even if you just test it out, see if it works for you. It's hard to explain the experience, but if you sign up, check it out, do a little trial or whatever, right? But I recommend go to maybe 3 or 4 sessions at least before you make your decision about whether it works for you, because it takes a minute to get used to it. Like, I'm on Zoom, I'm looking at other people, like people might be looking at me, like there's a guide, like what the hell, what's going on, right? But once you go through it, like for me, once I went through it like 3 or 4 times, I was hooked, because I was like, wow, I got so much work done in a very short period of time, right? Because I didn't have the distraction of my phone, right? That's the first thing when you go into a cave session, they have you put your phone away, right? Turn your phone off. Can you imagine that? 3 hours without my phone? Like, some people would have an anxiety attack about that, right? I know I did for initially. But deep work, if you're gonna drive your mission as an innovation leader, this has to be one of the top things that you do on a weekly basis, right? And I say set aside maybe 2-3 days where you're going in for 2 to 3 hours a day, just deep work. What's also cool about this is if you use block time and use deep work, it works really well, because what I'll also do, and I see other leaders doing this, is I'll block my calendar for deep work, and I'll even put in, what am I going to work on during that time? What's the one, because you really only want to monotask, do one thing. And so I just write that in on my calendar. That's what I'm going to work on during this deep work time, right? And then the last piece is daily, weekly planner. I feel like, as innovators, I should be sharing with you all these like crazy new techniques and, all of this stuff. But this is a boring technique, right? But it's very powerful, is having your weekly, daily planner, right? Taking time, and a lot of you already do this, but if you're trying to get more time in your week to drive innovation, to be able to go deep and think creatively, my recommendation is, if you're not doing this already, get a daily, weekly planner. And I really don't care what daily, weekly planner you use, but just taking time on a daily basis and a weekly basis to map out, what are the big things I'm trying to get done this week? Okay, what days am I going to get those big things done? And then each day, like, how did I do, right? And again, this is like, for a lot of you, I know this is like life 101, right? But sometimes it's good to be reminded. And the planner that I use, again, I'm not telling you go get this planner, but you can see very clearly I use this planner pretty aggressively on a regular basis. But what I love about this planner is called a high performance planner. And it's really great, particularly if you're focused on needle moving and you're really trying to stay connected to your mission as an innovator. I love this planner because it has things like a weekly layout, right? The week ahead. It has little daily prompts. It's a lot of work. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a lot of work, but I can tell you, using the planner on a weekly and daily basis, it helps me stay on top of the needle moving activities. Otherwise, I would just be like, I'm already all over the place, but I would be even more all over the place and would not really deliver on the big needle moving activities that are important to me as an innovator, right? And so with that, I really encourage you to take a look at these, right? Try to figure out, if you're looking at saying, that's a lot of stuff, Clay, just start with one thing. Can you get clear on your mission, right? Maybe you say, hey, I want to start focusing on block time, right? Every Sunday, blocking the time out, right? Needle moving, right? Just even if you just create a list, say, hey, here's my needle moving activities, here's my non-needle moving, and then start checking them off. That's another piece. The deep work. If there's only 2 on here that you do, I would say get clear about your mission as an innovation leader and start focusing on deep work and making time for deep work. I think these 2 things by themselves will make you 3 times more effective than you are today as an innovation leader. And so this is Clay Richardson signing off. Just again, keep sending the email questions. Feel free to ping me. If you want to drop me an email, send me an email at clay@digitalfastforward.com. Make sure to follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram, so you can check us out on LinkedIn at Digital Fast Forward, or you just do a search for Clay Richardson. And you can also follow us on Instagram. Just do a search on Digital Fast Forward and you'll see us on Instagram. And so with that, good luck with accelerating, and talk to you later.